I welcome everyone to the Ordinary Council meeting for November 2025. Despite the Council Code of Meeting Practice Policy, 2 public forum sessions will be held during the Council meeting. 1 public forum session will be held following the acknowledgement of Broken Hill's mining history to hear submissions from the public on matters listed for consideration at this meeting, to also hear submissions on general matters, and the other public forum session will be held prior to confidential matters and will consider submissions from the public on matters considered by council at this meeting only. Councillors undertook an oath or affirmation at the beginning of their term of office and declared to undertake the duties of the officer of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Broken Hill local government area and the city of Broken Hill, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers and authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment. This council meeting is being live streamed live via YouTube and recorded and published via council's website. To those present in the gallery today, by attending or participating in the public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The Mayor and/or General Manager have the authority to pause or terminate the stream if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. We have nil apologies. We have 2 leave of absence, one from Deputy Mayor Hickey submitted leave of absence application for the meeting for a prescribed reason. Councillor Hayley Jewett submitted a leave of absence application for this meeting for a prescribed reason. Do we have a mover for these leave of absence to be accepted? Move Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Page. All those in favour, declared carried unanimously. Call on Councillor Boland to deliver the prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Gillett.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet today, the land of the Willetali people, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.
Thank you. Councillor Chandler.
We take time to reflect, remember and honour the over 800 miners who lost their lives and those that were crippled or maimed in line of life. We thank the brave miners and their wives who were part of the 1919-1920 strike that lasted over 500 days, delivered a 35-hour working week. Mining is our past and future.
Thank you, Councillor Chandler. Sorry. Public forum. The first public forum session of 15 minutes duration will consider submissions from the public regarding matters listed for consideration in this meeting and also on general matters. The public have been advised through notices on council's website to register by 4 p.m. today if they wish to address council during the public forum session. Members of the public who have registered to address council will be given preference, and then if time permits, anyone else present in the public gallery may address council. Speakers are allocated 2 minutes to address council. We have a submission from Tom Pete. Subject is transport services. If Tom would like to move up to the microphone. Thank you. If you could just say your name for the recording as well. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, my name's Tom Pete. So 2 minutes is my limit.
Oh, no, so you can go. If there was 50 people waiting,
sure,
you'd stay to the 2
sure,
minutes.
I do want to cover this thoroughly.
Yeah.
Just in relation to what I submitted, there is a typo there. So I've been an Uber driver here for just over 2 years, and last week clocked up 10,000 rides. So it's a few more than 1,000. And that's, I guess, a reflection of the demand. Now, the reason I've been a resident here for 10 years, and the reason why I started Uber driving, there was a few, but one of the main reasons was just being fed up with not being able to get a taxi in the south. And straw that broke the camel's back was having to walk home from the airport one day with no chance of getting a ride. So what I've seen out there is a lot of frustration, and I can't overstate just how big the crisis we have here for transport is. I just start with the airport. We got 5 flights a day coming in and 5 out most days. People need to get out there. You know, they're expensive flights if they miss them, and it causes them a lot of stress being able to get a ride. But we also have a charter company out there now offering sightseeing flights over Lake Eyre. There's now a helicopter operation out there as well doing sightseeing flights. And then you've also got private flights coming in. They often use Broken Hill as a stopover for refueling and stay overnight. And you've also got a world-class visitors centre with the Royal Flying Doctors. And I find I'm getting increasing numbers of phone calls from the boss of the visitors centre to go out there and rescue people that are stranded. Now, what I had hoped is after some time, we'd get a lot more Uber drivers, as happens in other towns, but here we've only been able to manage to get about 3 or 4. It's nowhere near enough. So on most days, you've got 1 or 2 taxis, sometimes none, and 1 or 2 Ubers or ride shares. And we do the best we can, but we all have other ventures. So we work, around it and try and cover it. So through the day, there absolutely needs to be some sort of bus service running from the airport and to the airport to get people to their flights. That's the first part of the problem. The second part is the social venues. So our bus service at the moment finishes at 5:30 in the afternoon. There are people staying at the caravan parks on the fringes of town. There's people in the motels that are beyond a reasonable walking distance from the centre of town. They want to be able to go out and they want to be able to get home. And what I see on a daily basis or nightly basis is the frustration levels off the charts. People just are so frustrated that they can't get rides. The locals often tell me, you know what, we won't go out unless we're sure we can get a ride home. So this is costing all these hospitality venues a lot of money, right? And to my way of thinking, I feel embarrassed for the city at times because people just expect that these services are going to be there, right? And I often have to say to people, look, back off, it's not our fault. We're actually out here doing the job, and we do the best that we can. So what I did about it a while back is I wrote to the council, and I did receive a response advising me that there was a tender process put out last year for a bus service to go to the airport, and that there was ongoing consultations and so forth. Obviously, that came to nothing because there were no applicants. But this is too big an issue for it just to be left. The fact is that we do have a bus service that runs around town. I use it quite regularly myself. And the bus service to the south, which runs about half a dozen times a day, usually has about 3 people on it. It runs to Duff Street, a kilometre from the airport, and won't go to the airport. So I look at that and I think, well, why can't we just get this bus service reorganised to cover the airport? Now, I'm not sure whether the practicalities of that lie. All I'm suggesting is it's something to be looked at as a part of a possible solution. I'd also wrote to Mr. Butler, the state member, who wrote back and said that on my behalf, he's written to the New South Wales Transport Minister, and I can expect a response within 6 to 8 weeks. And that was about 6 weeks ago. So we'll see what comes back from that. But the purpose of me coming here tonight was I just wanted to raise it and just to flag just how big an issue it is in this town. And the frustration levels are through the roof. And I'm finding I'm getting increasing abuse as well, which I don't appreciate and I don't tolerate. So I ban the riders when I cop it. Absolutely doing the best we can. But yeah, this absolutely needs priority. We've got to get something better. My understanding is the airport's being expanded. Well, that's a great thing, but how are people going to get transport? Well, if we can't manage it now, there's got to be a plan here. So thanks for listening. And yes, I'll I'll forward on whatever response I get from the New South Wales Transport Minister. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I just see it all the time, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Because I also run a tour business here now, and you know, I just hear it more and more about how frustrated people are. Just the simple thing: you get off a train, you've got to be able to get a ride. If you're 80 or 90 years old, and a lot of those people on the train, they are that age, right? Because they get out here for $28 return, right? And then welcome to Broken Hill. Oh, by the way, you better start walking. No, it's not good enough.
Firstly, thank you for providing a service because it is important, and there's a shame there's not more people that do it and would address the problem to a large degree. Council also contacts Transport New South Wales and has asked for that service. And if anyone deals with government, you know that doesn't happen easily. It just doesn't. So they haven't provided the service, and probably likely won't, considering the service is heavily subsidised to provide the routes that they have around town. So yeah, I've spoken to the CDC, but you will be happy to know, and everyone here will be happy to know, there will be a private operating bus service from February next year that will cater to all 5 flights on the day. So they've got a group of people together that, and hopefully council can work with the airlines to actually make sure that the passengers, just as the flight staff used to say, if you need a taxi, we can provide. Well, there's no point in saying that now because you won't be able to get it. But hopefully that we can work with the air services and make sure that people are made aware, or even if there's a booking system that's put in place beforehand that will allow passengers to book in advance with a link to either Qantas or Rex or both. And council will also put signage out there that allows for parking for that bus. So in February, hopefully, that takes care of a lot of what you're saying at the airport. I believe they'll have no trouble making a profit out of that, simply because of the amount of people that will use it and the need that you've said, because there is a great need. So been in contact with them, spoke to them, and they probably would have started earlier, but made it quite clear that if you do start it, it needs to be a service that people can rely on. So they're going to start in the new year, and hopefully we have a service that is there for all 5 flights.
That'd be great progress if that occurs.
Yeah, and so it will occur. How successful it is will determine whether it continues. So you hope that people use it. It operates well, and we have it long term.
Yeah, reliability is the key.
Yeah,
Because we have had a few different ride shares that people get frustrated with because they just don't stick around.
this will be able. There'll be enough room on the bus to make sure that they can cater to anyone that wants to come, and they will return to the airport if need be for extra people.
All right, appreciate that, Ben.
Thank you. Other speakers, Jim, I think you wanted to speak. Just if you could say your name for the microphone, thanks, Jim, just for the record.
Thank you, Ben Kenny, councillors and executive and staff. I'll refer to notes a bit on our practice for this after retiring for a couple of years. My name is Jim Champion. I've come here tonight to speak about concerning matters that I've raised with the Mayor and City Manager about the cemetery, Heritage Cemetery. Basically reflects and supports the 2001 report to government from council itself, My wife Barbara and myself involved with the cemetery started over 50 years ago when we tragically lost our son Troy, who was interred into the Catholic and Methodist section of the cemetery, the isolated out of sight section. Shortly after that, it became flood-bound and waterlogged through flooding, surface flooding and below ground, and interments were ceased basically from that time. From that time, it's continued to, well, basically deteriorate. You've seen some photographs there of salt areas, salt bush, and flooding that comes down the road and into there and pools in there, and then the creek, which has been ever enlarging. And overall, it's distressing over the years to go out. Seriously distressing, to the point that I brought Barb up here last December. Bit difficult. December last year, and she wouldn't get out the car. I've since lost Barb. So, look, I just wanted. So, in response to that flooding, subterranean and surface, council at that time approaches to them. They partly circled the area with a trench and stockpiling the excavations. It looks like to me, it looks like an open pit. I've approached council going back that far, and in contrast to council now, that when the mines were booming and it was successful as the town was, the city was, 35 to plus people, 1,000 people, but nothing was done. It was left, which was obviously stressful to us. But we we moved away in 1976. So always has been and always will be home. But we've come back. I'll just refer to the but Barb passed later in August, and now that I've got time, I've got extensive period in local government, 40 plus years, major civil construction that I can give back to the city. I've got the time to do that. I've got the determination. While it's still able, it's my objective to one team with council, with the breadth of my experience. Like I said, well, it's 44 years project managing major civil works, major building works, and every aspect of council. My objective is to work with council. I've collaborated with the mayor and the city manager. And following that, I've approached a major company that's in the city at the moment, that they would be, how they'd feel about the this isolated section and what we might be able to do in the immediate term insofar as clearing the salt bush. The salt bush is cleared and a bit of cleaning, and basically the water coming down the road, instead of funneling in and pooling, and then after the rains, you'll see in the photographs there where cars trying to get round, and there's big, it's just a mud patch. And the salt bush, that cleared with the machine that this company has. The contact with them from itself goes back many, many years. My hope would be that they saw it as a contributing to the city, and that's something they would achieve in a couple of hours, 3 to 4 hours. If that was impossible, I see that value adding to the city, and that's what I've been about. That's what I have been and always will be. And then on from that, and it's less stressful when we go out there. Barb and I, when we both gone, we're coming back to Broken Hill to go into that section of our son. Look at Barb home with me now, and I'll be coming back too. On from that, in regards to the serious nature of the creek coming through over that 50 years, it's ever expanded and expanded, and then the water increasing coming out into the that isolated section. To the point that council in the immediate short time back put dissipator culvert panels in to and save some graves going into the creek. If you see by the photographs that I have there, it won't be long before we've got that situation again. And then we're crisis managing again. I say we because that's how I see it. Council to do that. Speaking with Mayor Kennedy and city manager, it could be to do that. It's a full audit, full cemetery audit. Plans from that. And I see it right across the board, because if it's not done, going forward, the changing face of Australia, then the emphasis on heritage and history, where's it go? So I think now's the time to go in, and I've approached consultation with Mayor and City Manager, approach the state member and also the federal member office for a meeting with them. And in essence, the short-term contractors, the longer term, it won't be easy. The Mayor indicated earlier with transport, but the ball's picking the ball off the line. While I can, I'm 81 in a couple of months. Be that as it may, it doesn't deter me. My determination is absolute. I've been up here the week before last, back to Adelaide, back to here. It doesn't faze me. And I'm just here to say, righto, look, that's what the potential is. If it is not done, it can't be done right now because it's going to cost millions. You go right through that creek, fully line the creek, go through, get the levels on the roads where the water furrows wherever it wants to go, huge big storms, and furrows down through past graves, cuts out roads, over near the the rose garden, where it channels down there and just cuts that out every time. Crisis managing, get rid of the crisis management. In the photographs there, you'll see that I see it as a shared responsibility, federal, state, local, but also being 800 miners out there, that the BHPs and Rio Tintos, who I've worked for, I spent numbers of years underground, 3 shifts. And so the BHP, Broken Hill Proprietary, I don't think there's enough. On behalf, I know the money that's contributed to the city at different times, but BHP is Broken Hill Proprietary, and this is where the pot of gold started. I think that out there, it could be 10, 15 million, could be even more, but it doesn't phase. But those creeks and the roads get their falls and everything okay, so that down the track, when places
Jim, we've gone over time by a fair bit, but there is an opportunity at the end of the meeting if you want to have
Yeah.
again, but I'll just quickly respond to you. I have no doubt that all the councillors in this room are committed to doing what we can out at the Catholic cemetery. There is some diagrams that show the flooding out at the cemetery. I think you have seen those, though you see the flooding, it goes along roads. So council hasn't come up with a plan to actually mitigate the flooding yet, but at least the audit's been done that we know where the flooding's coming from so that we can start to go to the second stage, which we now can apply for, because when you do the first stage, the state government will actually fund the second stage, and the second stage is a report to actually look for opportunities to stop the flooding or mitigate the flooding. And once you have the second report that shows where you can stop the mitigation, we can actually then start applying for the funding. And that's when, because you're ahead of the game and you've already spoken to Roy and you have.
Oh, to their
given-
officers, I haven't
yeah.
spoken to them yet.
Yeah,
I'll just-
we better roll it up because we're
I was aware of what you've just spoken of.
yeah.
Uh,
So after the meeting, the general manager will give you a bit of a look at it, and so it all still ties in anyway.
it's just that I'm passionate.
Oh,
Having just lost,
yeah.
part 62 years, it's accentuated that. And, park there, and I do think people.
Thank you, Jim. But there is another opportunity at the end of the meeting if you want to speak again.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question? We know the issue about the flood mitigation, but there was also, and I think we raised this in the last term with the general manager about looking at the tidying up, beautification of that area and the entry point. And I just wondered if that had progressed in any way.
It has, but I'll hand over. So,
I should say, declare that, my dad, mother and son are all out in that area. So I'm always interested
my
about,
grandfather's
how
out
that-
there as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So it's a very important part of the cemetery, and that's why Jim and I actually get along really well, because there's some plans to at least tidy up the roads out in that area so that you can actually see the road. So rather than it look like from the pictures that you can see that Jim brought in, where you see the turned car marks, so that will be put down with some sort of road base. We're looking at bordering the area with maybe some blue metal. So we might get in contact with Mawsons, who may donate some material. I'm putting them on the spot. I don't know if they will, but people are very invested in our cemetery, and it's one area where you actually don't have too much trouble getting people to volunteer their time or resources. So agree totally, Councillor Turley. We will move on to item 8, which is the minutes for confirmation. Do we have a mover for the minutes? Move Councillor Page, seconded Councillor Chandler. Any discussion on the minutes? No. All those in favour? Declared it carried unanimously. Disclosures of interest, item 9. Is there any disclosures of interest?
I have one disclosure in Community and Development, item 4, Perfect Light Film Festival, non-pecuniary, and I'll leave the chamber. Reason being is my main employment, my day job is a major sponsor of the event.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. We move on to mayoral minutes. Nil. Notices of motion. Nil. Notice of rescission motion. Nils. Item 13, reports from delegates. We have a report dated 19, Councillor Chandler's delegates report attendance at the New South Wales Public Libraries Association Conference on page 23 for the gallery. Councillor Chandler, you'd like to move that? Move Councillor Chandler, seconded Councillor Allgate. Councillor Chandler, you'd like to speak to that?
Yeah, I returned from the New South Wales Public Libraries Association AGM. Over 400 delegates nominated to go, 14 of which were councillors with whom I met. And we talked to lodging and most of the state government on several issues. Over the 3 days, we had several workshops with professional speakers who gave the positive approach to public libraries. I think the downside was 14 of New South Wales public libraries have employed social workers and are looking to run food banks and op shop clothing with struggling people. This is all right for the rich councils, but the councils in the Western area of the state aren't as financial. If the New South Wales government has their way, New South Wales council will be lumbered with cost shifting, and the government will have less responsibility saving money. Our library is very important to people of Broken Hill, and it's funded by our ratepayers. I thank the council for sending me, and I hope Broken Hill City Council attendance continues to ensure we have a say in our region.
Thank you, councillor Chandler. Any speakers on that? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 14, committee reports, corporate services and community, item number 1 on page 29, the draft annual report. Do we have a mover for that?
Move that report.
Move councillor Allgate, seconded. Councillor Turley, councillor Allgate.
As I said at the standing committee, Mr. Mayor, having been involved with the council for around about 60 odd years, this is the best annual report I've seen in all of that time. It's a comprehensive report, and the 200 odd pages tell everybody who wants to read it and just exactly the position of the council, what it's done, what it's continued to be doing, the cost factors involved, what stage the major projects are at. It meets all the recommendations of the audit committee. The auditor has had no problem with it in terms of the financial statements. But it's a really comprehensive document that details in real detail all of the council's activities and the longer term activities as well. It's a good read as far as I'm concerned, and I think the council should be proud of that particular report. And I'd suggest that the staff should be congratulated along with the council.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Any other speakers on the councillor Turley?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess, my congratulations to all the staff for the delivery of our vision. It's it cuts across long-term planning, and a lot of those projects, and we're having projects that have been delayed since COVID are coming to fruition. So a lot to celebrate. My only thing, and I just looked at the meeting attendance and that process. But I went back and looked at the minutes from February 2025 and realised that some of our minutes in those that attendance may be a bit wrong. And I just wonder, I don't want to take away from the good report, but I just wonder if the general manager will look at that. For instance, in the minutes for 26th of February 2025, it actually records Councillor Brown as being in attendance and Councillor Page, but Councillor Page hadn't been elected then from the count back. So I think perhaps we could have a look at that. I don't want to take away from the good report.
Councillor Page was at that meeting though, even though he hadn't been elected yet.
Councillor Gallagher hadn't passed then.
In February?
Did he pass then? Yes, he had.
Yes, so councillor Page had attended but hadn't been confirmed.
Okay, thank you for that.
It's okay. But I'm sure you'll have a look at that. Yeah. Any other speakers on the annual report? Councillor Boland?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I just want to touch on some of the achievements, particularly around the library with the library services. The outreach, that's an amazing program that delivered 8,324 items to 465 members through the remote areas of far west New South Wales. That's a really good effort, and as we know, they're quite remote areas, and I'm sure they really appreciate that service and been up to get items, and I'm guessing a modern library, it just wouldn't be books, it'd be all kinds of things. And also, I know our former councillor, a retired councillor, Marion Brown, was always big on the archives and making sure available for many, many years to come. So I was happy to see that working with ancestry.com to get the records onto websites that'll be accessible through them, as well as the Outback Archives, which I think is an amazing project that I know that the retired councillor Marion Brown would be very happy about.
Yes, thank you. Any other speakers? For me, I think this is probably the council's most important report. It really does spell out everything that council does, everything. So it's a big read, but it's a read that if you do take the time to read it, you actually will understand the amount of services and the amount of events, the amount of everything that the Broken Hill City Council does. And it really is a lot to do. Just speaking to an accountant yesterday, the amount of work to do across so many services makes such a complicated position. Councils deliver so many different things, and this report shows that councils are more important than everyone else as far as delivery or importance to the community. And it's why it's really important that these annual reports do let communities know exactly what's happening. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, which is on page 200, and that can't be right. Oh yeah, 200. Oh yeah, the annual report went 200 pages. The Model Code of Conduct Complaint Statistics Annual Report on page 230. Do we have a mover for that? Move Councillor Gillett, seconded Councillor Chandler. Councillor Gillett, you'd like to speak to that?
It's probably the only time that all the councillors and the management would like to see so many zeros.
Yes, it's good
Well
to
said.
have a report that has 0 codes of conduct. Saves council a lot of money and causes a lot of non-anger amongst all parties. Councillor Allgate?
And there's no expenditure related to it too, whereas before each claim or each complaint was sometimes up in the 20,000 or more. So we're saving money by being a responsible council.
Yeah. And that's before the local government minister brought in the new code of conduct, which will virtually mean we'll end up with 0 most times. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3, the adoption of the draft social and community development policy on page 234. Do we have a mover for that?
Move that way.
Move Councillor Boland. Second. Councillor Allgate. Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I'm very happy to move this draft social and community development policy, or it will be the adoption of. Just to note that it's replacing 4 policies, which is good, and modernising it. So the 2009 Community Services Policy, the 2009 Positive Ageing Policy, and the 2005 Social Policy, and 2007 Youth Policy will be replaced in this one, modern one. And obviously the less documents you've got, the easier it is to understand and read, and it really shows that council is committed to our community and the social development of that community, whether it be the young ones right through to ageing, to make sure that we're looking after absolutely everyone in this community, and we're advocating for them at every level.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 4, Councillor Boland has a conflict and will leave the chamber. So it's the event sponsorship for the Perfect Light Film Festival. It's on page 240 in the business paper. Do we have a mover for that?
Move the recommendation.
Move Councillor Allgate, seconded Councillor Chandler. Councillor Allgate.
Yeah, I think the recommendation is a sensible one, Mr. Mayor. Given that we last year spent $50,000, we gave sponsorship to the tune of $50,000. And whilst this is a great idea and a great presentation of film, there's a limit to what the council can do. And when you consider in the script, it tells us that there are only around about 110 patrons that attended to see it. It's pretty, from a commercial perspective, it's not good sense. To reduce our contribution to $20,000 is more realistic, and the onus will then go back on the Perfect Light organisers to get more sponsorship, or to get those that were sponsors back into the system, where the thing can continue to go ahead. We continually, as a council, can't afford to be giving $50,000 away. It's as simple as that.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Someone might, thank you. It was passed as written, councillor Boland. Item number 5 is a public exhibition of the draft hire fees for meeting rooms at the new library on page 244. We have a mover for that.
I'll move that.
Move councillor Allgate, seconded councillor Gillett. Councillor Allgate.
Only to support the fee schedule as it's detailed in the report. You know, we've got a new library. The library's going well. It looks like being open sometime in December. Everything is going well, and we had setbacks in terms of weather, and which slowed down the eventual opening. But I think the library will be a winner for the town, and it's fully covered by the amount of cash that council has. We've not gone into debt in terms of building something that we couldn't afford. What we have afforded looks like being a real winner as far as I'm concerned. And as in most places, councils can't continue to give free services, because we all know how costs have risen, and they seem to be continuing to rise. Every time you go to the supermarket, you need more money, and it's the same with everything. And whilst the fees are not excessive, they do go a long way to meeting the user pay situation, and that's what we should be looking at.
Any other speakers? Just note there, councillor Allgate, for community is still free. So they are it only is a charge to commercial operators. The community will continue to be free for those rooms.
Yeah, I was talking about the fees, not the freebies.
Yeah. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 6. Picton Sports Ground Community Committee minutes held on October on page 251. Do we have a mover for that? Move councillor Page, seconded. Councillor Allgate. Councillor Page, would you like to speak to that? It's a good committee as always, councillor Page. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 7 is the actual financial report for 23-24 and 24-25 of the Memorial Oval Committee on page 256. Do we have a mover for that? Move councillor Boland, seconded. Councillor Allgate. Councillor Boland.
I think, Mayor Kennedy, this was quite a difficult one, but it's good to see that it's done and the committee's on the right spot. I mean, I did stand down from the committee last meeting to allow Councillor Edgecombe to join that committee, which I'm sure you'll get a great enjoyment out of. But it's good to see the figures aren't where we need them to be, and there's some issues around high fees for the Memorial Oval and the expenses outpacing them, which I'm sure the committee's been doing a lot of work around that and reworking with the assistance of the council staff as well. And there was some issues, some difficulties with the unfortunate passing of Councillor Dave Gallagher at the start of the year around signatories with banks as well. So I know there was some policies put in place to make sure there's always enough signatories if something terrible or sad like that happens again. So figures could have been better, but the committee is on the right path. It's starting to work well together, and I'm sure that the figures will improve next year with good direction and a good committee.
Thank you, councillor Boland. Councillor Edgecombe, would you like to speak to that as new?
It's a great committee. They haven't had any meetings since I've been appointed, but I'm very excited to get involved. And I thank councillor Boland again for allowing me to have the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So there is a considerable amount of issues at that committee. So it'll certainly be a tough job. I've been contacted by a number of the organisations that use that oval. So I will from now on direct them to you, councillor Edgecombe. I have the general manager will follow up some of the issues that they've had there. What was concerning in those annual financial statements is that hire fees almost were level with electricity charges, which means that there's an issue down there with the oval. It's running at a considerable loss. So I don't know what needs to be done down there, but as a councillor, there is a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 1, adoption of the draft code of meeting practice on page 265. Do we have a mover for that?
Move the recommendation.
Moved councillor Allgate, seconded councillor Chandler. Councillor Allgate?
Yeah, I think the changes, although they're not monumental, they are common sense introduced to the overall meeting practice. And all of this really results from the current Minister for Local Government. And he's doing a good job, not only with the Code of Conduct policy itself, but also with the meeting practice that incorporates much of the policy, much of the Code of Conduct policy. So I think it's good, and it's sort of keeping up with the times, and everybody, if you read it, everybody knows what they should be doing and should not be doing.
Any other speakers? One concern that I have, but there's nothing we can do about it, is public forum. I enjoy the public forum being part of the Broken Hill City Council at the beginning and the end of the meeting. Unfortunately, the new act, and it was brought in, I can understand why it's brought in. Some of the councils over, particularly in the inner city suburbs, aren't as respectful as the public that we get here. So those rules were brought in, but council will still have a public forum session. It will start at 6:10, but not be part of the actual council meeting, which means that people can still come along and bring up their concerns. It said it has to be what's on the council agenda. But as people know, as the chair of the meeting, I'm very liberal when it comes to allowing people that want to bring up things that affect our city. So that's one where for us it is not as good as what it was, but it's something that's a requirement under the Act, and I completely understand why it was brought in. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2 is the public presentation of the 2025 financial statements. Do we have a mover on page 324? Move councillor Boland, second councillor Allgate. Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. They can be a bit of a tough slog of a read, but they're very important documents. And I note the income from grants, and obviously that's gone to doing stuff around the city. So there's been a reduction in cash on hand, but obviously that's flowed into projects around the city, library, etc. Also, I'd like to take note of the $2 million in debt repayments that brought the borrowings down from 16 to a tad over 14, which is a great position. The other thing, especially in this environment with the high inflation that's currently running at 3.8% headline this morning, with this morning's figures, that the expenses are very, very well controlled, which shows a very, very well-run organisation. You want to have a look how well an organisation is running, have a look at those expenses year to year, and they are very, very, very well controlled, particularly in a high inflation environment. So I congratulate everyone from the councillors to the Chief Financial Officer or Director of Financial Services, the team under him and the whole council team keeping expenses under control, delivering projects on time and under budget, and overall a strong position.
Thank you, councillor Boland. Any other councillors? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3 is the minutes of the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held 16th of October 2025 on page 421. Move councillor Allgate, seconded. Councillor Boland, councillor Allgate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendations cover all the important factors. The committee, as an observer, I found that this most recent committee meeting was probably one of the best. It was over fairly rapidly. All the items that needed to be covered were covered in detail. The chairperson was happy with almost everything that happened during the meeting. The general manager's presentation, as always, is comprehensive and right to the point. So, from an observer's point of view, I think the committee's done a great job.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 4, the quarterly budget review statement for the period ended 30th of September 2025 on page 430.
Move that way.
Move councillor Boland,
Seconded.
councillor Allgate, councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Flowing on from the financial statements is obviously the budget, where a lot of the planning and what leads to a successful financial statement. So I don't lose the page, I'd like to bring attention to item 4 on page 438, where additional expenditure to employ 7 trainees. I think that's a great use of council funds to have apprentices, trainees, cadets programs. That's really investing in the future of not only council operations, but this city as a whole. And the increase in operating surplus for the year ending 30th of June has increased to 686,000 before capital items, which is a great result. And obviously there's been some losses of grants through the library, which is disappointing. But overall, it's a good budget, and it means we can keep reinvesting in the city. It's a bit of a shame. I know that the grants are starting to dry up from a very city-centric state government, but it'll be great. I'm sure we'll keep advocating and continue to get those grants, continue improving our city.
Thank you, councillor Boland. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 5 is the investment report for October on page 449. Do we have a mover for that?
Move that way.
Move councillor Boland, seconded councillor Allgate. Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Again, very good balanced portfolio. Good to have those term deposits in highly rated Australian banks. Inflation is, as I said, 3.8% today, headline. We trimmed at 3.2. That's well above the Reserve Bank happy place, I guess you could call it, of inflation of 2.5 to 3%. That means interest rates aren't going anywhere, which is bad if you're a mortgage holder, good if you're a retiree and have term deposits like council does. So I think there will be no more rate cuts. If anything, there'll be a rate increase. So it's good to see that money in term deposits, and some of them maturing at quite a strong rate of between 3.5% and 4.2%.
Thank you, councillor Boland. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Move to further reports. Item number 1 is the correspondence report, the Food and Organics Garden Organics Waste on page 466. Do we have a mover for that?
I'll move that.
Move councillor Allgate, seconded councillor Gillett. Councillor Allgate.
Only little to say about that. The council has been actually in front of these people a few times for a fair while. You know, we just recently had a survey of people about bi-weekly pickups of green waste and so on. And the community don't want that. They only want once a fortnight, and that's reasonable as well. But I think the council and the organisation, the townspeople, have done a great job in meeting the requirements, the legislative requirements.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Look, I think I would like to just add a number 4 that we do right back to the Honourable Penny Sharp, who did acknowledge what a good job we do and did understand that we should be taken into account and that the EPA will take those exemptions into account. So yeah, happy to add that.
Add that.
Happy to add that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2, correspondence, report in principle support for the implementation of the National Carp Control Plan. On page 471. Do we have a move of that? That's just a receive and note of the correspondence. Move councillor Chandler. Seconded councillor Boland. Councillor Chandler.
I think we just got to wait to see what the government doing with releasing this policing virus for the carp and what they're planning to do with the dead fish they get out of it, and fertiliser and whatever they do. Gotta wait and see.
Any other speakers? No. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3, the changes to the Aged Care Act and impact on aged care residents. On page 475, do we have a mover for that?
Move the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Allgate, seconded. Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate.
Yeah, I'm the chair of the Ageing Well Committee that the council runs, and my concerns have been shared by others on that committee who know a lot more about aged care than I do. And there's so many unknowns in this new act. Apparently, from those who have been involved in aged care for many years, they're finding it very difficult to come to terms with what's incorporated. And one of my concerns has always been the fact that if you get a home care package, you would think that that package would cover most things, but it happens to be means tested, so that if you have a few dollars, you have to contribute or top up the monthly payments. And those payments, apparently those payments look like increasing between 20 and 40%. And that in turn will prevent many people from being able to receive home care packages, whilst they get so much government assistance free in terms of the package itself. A lot of those people won't have the necessary money, even though it's mean tested. There will in lots of cases be a fee that wasn't in train before that will be in train from now on. That's the way I understand it. If you talk to people like Judy Parr, who's been involved in aged care, firstly with the council, in Shorty O'Neill Village, and then HAC, and then now and Live Better, and all these other organisations, she's the first to say that she doesn't know exactly what's going to happen, and nor does anybody else, from what I can gather. We've had people from the Department of Health. They're a bit up in the air. They don't know fully. You know, so you've got a new act that's come into being, and nobody knows exactly how to use it and what the expectations are from from those recipients that are, you know, already in receipt of home care packages. How much are they going to have to pay on a monthly basis? It's a literal minefield.
Councillor Page.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Allgate says the people that are working in that field are not sure what's going to happen. I can assure you the federal politicians wouldn't have a bloody clue what the problems are. And if they do know, they're doing nothing about it. And what I'm saying, over a time frame, they're quite happy to, and it's torture to the elderly of this nation, and it's a bloody disgrace. The federal politicians, you go and talk to them, half the time, they turn around and ask one of their advisors, what's the issue about? It's bloody shameful. We have a federal parliament that are too busy running around the world interfering in wars and giving huge amounts of money away to other countries, and they can't even look after the elderly of this country. It's a bloody disgrace.
Very wholeheartedly.
Any other speakers? So the correspondence back from Brett Canning, who was writing on behalf of the Minister for Health and Ageing and Disability. Government will continue to fully fund clinical support services, which is, as we know. The minimum contribution rates have been set at 5% for independent services and 17% for everyday living services based on consideration of their impact on full pension disposable income. Based on predicted averages services, contributions for full pensions are expected to range between 3 to 12%. So it is between $37 and $144 per fortnight. So that's the average. So you could be paying as much as $144 per fortnight out of your aged care pension. So everyone knows $144 out of about just over $800 or $900. That's a considerable amount of money. And that's the average use. They acknowledge that there'll be people that use well above that. So they could be paying any amount of money above that $144. So it is a critical thing, and I think they need to get this right, because particularly in Broken Hill, if they get it wrong, we'll end up with more people that will be going into nursing homes way earlier than they should be, which will cost the government way more than it should. So they need to get this right. They need to take into account particularly regional areas, particularly isolated areas like Broken Hill, and understand the impacts they have. When it might work really well in Sydney or Melbourne, it certainly doesn't work out here, and they need to get it right.
Yeah. Speaking, the main people that will be affected will be the single pensioner who only gets a single pension, and to take a big lump out of that, they have to get services because there's nobody to look after them. They have to have carers come in and all the rest of it. You know, it's just a nightmare.
Thank you. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. Item number 4, change to the scheduled date of the December 25 ordinary council meeting on page 479. Do we have a mover for that? Moved Councillor Boland, seconded Councillor Gillett. Councillor Boland.
It's all written there. It's all part of the machinery and mechanics of council.
Thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 5 is the adoption of the draft cemetery management policy on page 482. Do we have a mover for that?
Move the recommendation.
Moved Councillor Allgate, seconded Councillor Chandler. Councillor Allgate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The changes that have been made should make it easier for all involved. The council, as the keeper of records, and also the funeral parlours and people themselves, in terms of the ability to upgrade graves. If you're not in possession of what used to be called the permit, workshop permit, or workplace permit, something like that. I listened to Mr. Champion, and I have to agree with what he said. I was involved with the cemetery back at the time when Catholic Section K was developed, and right from after about 12 months after the first 50 graves were put in, the water table was so high that the prepared graves had to be pumped out about 10 minutes before the funeral director arrived with the casket. And on occasions, they'd lower a casket in the water. And, terrible situation. And from the point of view of the engineering department and the trenches that they put to try and encourage the subsoil drainage down into the creek, into the main creek, at the end of the cemetery, that didn't resolve anything. It just made the whole area a bit more messy. So in terms of Mr. Champion's complaints, I agree wholeheartedly. The creek, the stormwater creek that runs through the cemetery needs to be, somehow or other, needs to be deepened and on a reasonable grade to get rid of the water. Already the erosion of the banks of that creek are right on some of the old, the old heritage graves. So I'm not sure what the council can do, but it should be looked at. But from an operation point of view, the new changes have made it simpler for everybody involved, and I think that's a good thing.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Any other speakers? All those in favour, declare it carried unanimously. Item number 6 is the adoption of the final draft Broken Hill flood study report, including flood mapping, on page 501. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Chandler, seconded. Councillor Allgate. Councillor Chandler.
It's pretty hard for them to get it right because we've got no drain in the whole town. And we can't put drainage in, we can't afford it. And we might see rain for another 8 or 10 years, so it's a big problem to sort out. But in the last couple of years, council have been addressing the problems that are coming up and slowly working through them. That's the best we can expect over, I think.
Any other speakers?
Yeah,
Councillor Allgate.
I'll just say that this is not a problem unique to Broken Hill. This is a problem shared by many regional and rural councils and even some metropolitan councils. It would have been great if this survey had been done 50 years ago, and we had money at the time. If we could have done some of this. It's going to be very, very difficult to do what's needed in the time that's left, and the funding. These reports, they come to us, they tell us what's wrong, they tell us roughly how to fix it. They don't tell us where we're going to get the money from, and that's the big problem.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Yeah, so stage 1 was to do the flood mapping. So the flood mapping, and then allows you to apply for funding to do another flood mitigation study, which will then allow you to come up with some answers to how to potentially address that flooding across the city, including out at the cemetery. Once you do that, then once you've got that second study, you are then able to apply for grant funding. So you can't actually apply for grant funding for the flooding until you can apply, but you're very unlikely to get it. The councils that have done these flood mappings and the next mitigation studies, the councils that are put at the front of the queue when going for funding. So I don't know how long it will be before we get that mix. Next 12 or 18 months, then we get that report done. So we'll get some answers to what things can be done to direct some of that flooding into the areas that we want. So it's not about stopping the flooding. You just won't stop the flooding in Broken Hill, but it's about knowing where the floodwaters go and then directing those floodwaters into areas that you can control. Once they're there in the areas you can control, you can divert the water to where you want to. The problem is it costs money to get the water into the areas that you want the water to go into, and that's where the grant funding comes in. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 7 is the action list plan. Do we have a mover for that?
That way.
Move Councillor Allgate, seconded. Councillor Chandler. Councillor Allgate.
It's all
All
in
the-
the,
yep. Thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We move to questions taken on notice from the previous council meeting. There was nil. We move to questions next meeting arising from items on the agenda. Questions taken on notice have been captured during the meeting as well. Any additional questions?
yeah, I'd like to direct a question, Mr. Mayor. And the question is in relation to, at the last meeting, the question that relates to specifically to the policy allowance for travelling councillors and the fact that there's an allowance for one alcoholic drink with an evening meal. I mean, I would have thought that that particular item would have gone through without hesitation, but our Labor colleagues didn't think that way. And since that meeting, there's been an avalanche of contributions on Facebook and social media. Some are not very pleasant, some are quite nasty, and some are there's only, in my way of thinking, there's only one way. The Labor Party are against this and really strongly against it. I'd ask the question if the current mayor and the previous mayor would be willing to have their councillor credit card spending on travel, during travel, be made public so that we can see how two mayors compare. And I think that's about the only way that this is going to be resolved, one way or the other. It's all, I made one comment on Facebook, and that comment was, I said, amongst other things, I said that people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And as far as I'm concerned, it's one thing to be adamant about one $10 drink with an evening meal for a councillor that's often leaving work, missing time at his workplace, taking an annual leave or something like that to go away, representing the council, and they can't even have a drink at the end. It's only one. I think it's about time people are answerable. They should back up why they object so strongly and why I would assume some of their supporters have been quite nasty on Facebook, to the extent that one particular contribution indicated that Mayor Kennedy is often at council meetings slurring his words, insinuating that he's affected by alcohol. He mightn't have any hair, but I can tell you he doesn't drink beer before he comes to, or wines or whatever, before he comes to the council meetings. It's no secret I've been a long-time supporter of Mayor Kennedy. As a councillor, and as a councillor has a good attendance record at meetings, I have never seen Tom Kennedy slur his words in council meetings or elsewhere for that matter. And as I've said before, I think if the two mayors were able to table their councillor spending or mayoral spending on the council credit card, we could see who was being honest and who was not being honest. I'd ask the general manager if the current mayor and the former mayor agree to release their information, that the general manager can bring down a report to the next council meeting.
Thank
Point
you,
of order, Mr.
councillor.
Mayor. The point of order is that councillor Allgate has made a slur on my reputation about being honest or not being honest. I think that needs to be retracted.
Can you, I'll ask you, councillor Allgate, can you retract that? Because there's nothing to say that councillor Turley is not honest. Thank you, councillor Allgate. I will, without a doubt, have no problem releasing any credit card that I'm part of. I'll ask councillor Turley to do the same.
Yeah, I'm happy to have all my credit card details released, as well as a list of all the attendance that I had to participate in. I understand that Councillor Kennedy, or Mayor Kennedy had said he hadn't really been able to do that. You know, that the Deputy Mayor has been representing the Mayor at many of those delegations. So happy to do that. Also note that the policy that came in by OLG was in the later part of my term as Mayor.
What policy was that, councillor Turley?
That was a circular from OLG. That was what Councillor Edgecombe referred to, that there is a circular from OLG that they don't recommend that we use.
Did you used to get alcohol on your credit card?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, that's good because it'll be out on the credit card
Yeah.
anyway, so you know.
I kind of think that every time we disagree in a public space, in a council meeting, we're not going to be targeted for
Councillor
future
Turley,
reasons.
excuse me, stop. The same applies to you. If you're going to have aspersions chucking, I'll stop you. So don't chuck aspersions my way and I won't chuck aspersions your way. You said that you just keep in mind that the circular said that you used to be able to drink alcohol. So I assume that you mean that there may be alcohol on your credit card.
No, I'm actually referring to the fact that we had a debate last council meeting. We made a decision of where we would vote, but it continues to be a discussion on Facebook about the fact
Councillor
we made a
Turley, I'll stop you
decision.
again. You misled the community by saying that you reposted a statement that said that it was one councillor drink per councillor per day. You then said it was a change of council's alcohol policy. What alcohol policy was changed? It's a support policy. You misled the community. You were called on it, and I've got no problem calling you on it every time. If you're going to mislead the community, you'll be called on it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was clarifying when there was a discussion on someone's page that was sent to me about my travel. And so clearly we're never going to resolve our relationship, but I will continue to try.
Councillor Turley, you say you try, you don't try. It's been for 20-something years it's gone on. My wife was having a baby and you put a code of conduct against me. Don't play the victim.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy for you to go back and audit all the codes of conduct, because I don't recall ever putting a code of conduct. I do recall having one put against me, but I don't recall
Councillor
ever.
Turley, you play the victim and we can all play the victim. Yeah, are you happy to release your credit card records?
Very happy, considering and release all the dates of events that I've represented the community at. Very happy for that, Mr. Mayor.
Well, we won't go into the detail of
I
what you
think
spent
you
it.
need
We'll
to go
just
into
release.
detail.
We'll be releasing the credit cards because
need
that's
to-
easy to get access to.
Need
If
to
you want to
release-
defend those, what you spent it on, that's up to you.
Mr. Mayor, why I say we need to do that is because there has been times, for instance, when we sent a delegation to the National Congress and there was the GM had left earlier and my credit card had to pay for everybody's accommodation. So you need to have what we've attended and why.
I think you'll find if you've spent a few $1,000s on accommodation, then it'll have to come up that you've spent money on accommodation and explain the purpose of the accommodation. Any other questions? No further questions. Item 18 is the public forum session. The second public forum session of 15 minutes duration will consider submissions from public regarding matters that were considered by council at this meeting only. Speakers are allocated 2 minutes. Are there any speakers from the gallery? No, I'll declare there's nil confidential matters. I'll conclude the meeting. As there is no further business for council to consider, I declare the ordinary council meeting closed at 7:50.